Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today I titled this message, When Leaders Control Populations. When Leaders Control Populations. We're not talking about just any leaders. We're talking about those in very powerful positions, national, international leaders, those in government and various establishments. There is control that does take place. Sometimes it is for good, other times it is for evil. We have seen this sort of thing in biblical times. We have seen where there was God himself who controlled men and women who refused to change, refused to do what was right. And so his control, unfortunately, was to get them off the face of this earth. Old Testament, God. Then Jesus comes along, and the message is preached that one might be saved if you believe in him. And so a movement, many movements take place. And even to this day, we are still preaching and teaching, accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior in order to speak, to connect with, to have a relationship with the one true God. And, of course, to escape eternal death. So populations controlled because some things have gotten out of hand. Whatever those things are to the elitist, to the sisterhood, to the brotherhood, they are discussed. And there are plans in terms of dealing with those issues. One particular example of this has long been population control. In order to slow down the growth of certain ethnicities, not so much the general population, certain ethnicities, we need to put some things in place. It wouldn't be so bad if people were willing to do things in general. But you got folks who know we have a target, we have a group that we need to work on to keep them from having more babies on top of babies. And then there are those who, I really don't care about ethnicity. I just want all these human beings to stop negatively impacting our environment. It's gotten to the point where you can't go anywhere without seeing someone. There should be places where I just want to be alone. Population control is an important issue. It is one that's been facing the world for decades. We've got rising global temperatures. We've got natural disasters. We have a growing population of humans on the planet. And so for elitists, it's been increasingly necessary to keep crafting agendas, to take action, to reduce human beings' impacts on this earth. Now, God sees it all. And some of you all, you've been seeing this sort of thing. And you say, no, I don't like what's happening. I don't like it at all. And so you expose. And then there are those who say, you don't know what you're talking about. This is important that we put this in the air, that we put this on the ground, that we go over here in this community and provide some things that they will leave sooner rather than later. And hey, if something is said about it, we'll say, hey, they had a choice. I mean, there's the Surgeon General warning on the side of the pack. You see. Stay with me. One way that population control supporters have long controlled select groups is through controlling childbirth. In many parts of the world, including in some countries in Asia and Africa, there are government policies in place. And these government policies, they are what promote birth control methods, such as contraceptives, family planning services. And so, of course, these programs, they've had some success in reducing birth rates and helping manage population growth. You saw some of that over the years when you noticed people were saying things like, I only want one child, or I only want two, or I don't want any children. Some of your friends, some of your family members, and then God, he had his way. You see, programming only works but for so long. And then someone says, you know what? My life has been manufactured, has been groomed, has been adjusted, changed, rearranged based on what an elitist group wants. So this hasn't been my decision all this time. This hasn't been what God wanted for me. You see, you got to be careful who you surround yourself with, who you read, what movies you watch. People have long told our society that you know that your media is controlled by a small handful of groups who have agendas. And what you see isn't really what you see, and what you hear isn't really what you hear. Instead, there is some programming that's going on behind the scenes, which is influencing your shopping behavior, your selection in a partner, your having sex or not having sex, how you parent your children, where you live, who you associate with, what type of job you get. And when you start piecing together the puzzle, you go, my influences over these years, my life is not my own. Exactly. That's why we go to the one true God in the spiritual realm and we pray and we say, God, what did you intend for me to be? What did you intend for me to do? Somebody get a wake-up call. Your life has been programmed. It's like that movie a long time ago, Truman Show. It came out back in 1998. In that particular movie, it was one of those movies that was a wake-up call for many individuals. The plot, Truman Burbank is the unsuspecting star of The Truman Show, a reality television program filmed 24/7 through thousands of hidden cameras and broadcast to a worldwide audience. Christof, the show's creator and executive producer, seeks to capture Truman's authentic emotions and give audiences a relatable everyman. Truman has been the star of the show since he was born, and the studio officially adopted him. As Truman was selected from birth following an unwanted pregnancy, Christof claims that Truman came to be adopted not just by the show, but by the whole world. Truman's hometown of Sea Haven Island is a complete set built within an enormous dome, populated by crew members and actors who highlight the product placements that generate revenue for the show. The elaborate set allows Christof to control almost every aspect of Truman's life, including the weather. Now, that is just a small example of what has been occurring in our modern day times. Next level Truman Show types of tactics. There were those influences long before we got here that our ancestors that our family members experienced. And those that were in the know were very quick to say no to the latest trending item. And why do you think that is? Or was? Because some of them are no longer here. Because they knew they could forecast what that new invention, that new concept, that new idea was going to do to our minds. And that's why they were so adamant on not selling out, on not buying into, not giving into. Say no to something. Not everything is good for you. Some of them said yes to the TV, but they said no to watching TV on a portable device. Some of them said yes to receiving phone calls as long as I'm getting them on a landline, but I don't want any cell phone. And then once you're sold on the benefits of something, then you go along with it. You see? You go along with it. You say, I like this. This is making my life better. So when any of these elitists are crafting agendas, they have to craft it in such a way where this is beneficial to your life. While they're watching your response, while they're eavesdropping on what you write and what you talk about and what your interests are. We just got to ramp it up a little bit on how we can convince these people. We know that they don't like this, so we've got to figure out how we can make them like it. And when things don't work because people have had enough of the foolishness, then they have no choice but to retreat. To stop creating, to stop making, to stop persuading, to stop putting the same old agenda all over the place. There comes a point where we say, no, we're not watching that movie. No, we're not listening to that song. No, we're ghosting that celebrity. No, I'm not paying that price at the store. No, I'm not sending my child to no overpriced college. When you push back by not buying into, you control the narrative. When this business of population control was, so they say, very necessary, these elitists, they had conducted studies that showed that when women are given access to education and economic opportunities, they're less likely to have large families. When combined with the adoption of modern birth control methods, they felt that this could help slow population growth and reduce the strain on resources. And so some individuals went on, believed what they believed, did what was expected of them. Thank you for your service. You see? See, for me, I understand why women and children and the whole business of inequality and so forth have been targeted. You know, educating them and educating others about abuse that occurs with women and their children in poverty, the income disparities between working men and women, as well as so many other societal challenges. But it's necessary for these elitist groups to make these women and children think twice about wanting to get married and to bring more children into this world. Especially if they come from backgrounds of generational poverty, illiteracy, sickness, and disease, you see. Oh, that one, where's she from? Oh, no. We don't want to encourage her to have no 4, 8, 12 kids. What about this one? Oh, this one? Her family is who? Oh, they got a long history of doing what? Okay, well, let that one have babies. Absolutely. Some of these individuals, they were sold, especially some of the celebrities, they were sold on, if you want more babies, why don't you adopt? You see. And don't just adopt anyone. Adopt the children who are going to get you the most media attention. Adopt the children who have had the hardest life. Adopt the children who we can be able to work with in the future. You see? So even their lives, we know, have been manufactured, have been created. They can't even say no if they wanted to because of contracts they signed and the type of lifestyle they're accustomed to living. Now, let's think about this. If the men are in jail, in the military, entertaining, starting or investing into some businesses and so forth, a lot of their time is being taken up by all of this other activity, see? So that's the last thing they want, is to be bringing about all these children when they're busy enough. And then for those, though, who do know that this has been a systematic oppression, control, manipulation, and so forth on what they should and shouldn't do with their bodies, this is where that rebellion that you see out there mainstream takes place, or even in your own local communities and so forth, because brotherhoods and sisterhoods know a thing or two, and they don't appreciate certain groups governing their personal decisions. So they act rebellious. They choose to have babies with multiple partners. Take that. They discourage their partners to use birth control. I knew an uncle who he did that sort of thing. He was like, no. I don't want you taking no birth control. While promising that he was going to be there for all of his. But he wasn't. And this is that kind of thing that elitists don't like. See, if you're going to bring these babies into the world, you need to make enough money to take care of all of these babies. You see. And you need to make sure that you get them some of the best education and the best health care and everything else, because we don't want to pay for that. Yeah, okay. And they keep on doing what they do. Now, you've got these civil rights groups, long been around. Some of the leaders of yesteryear, it was interesting how many of them passed away during the COVID-19 crisis. I mean, they were some serious-minded activists. But here comes COVID, and they're gone. But you see, something about these civil rights activists were that they saw the manufactured destructions. They learned a thing or two about patterns of events. And they knew some of these masterminds, if you will, behind closed doors, because they had been used as pawns in the game. So they were quite familiar about what was going on, and they were trying to educate, awaken some individuals that your life is not your own, that you're nothing more than a high-paid slave, that you could take your money and you could be able to go back and build up entire communities. You see. But no, let's keep you busy doing some foolish things, some things that are not threatening to the establishment. So these civil rights groups, they've long seen these manufactured destructions. saw that they were created in such a way where select ethnicities were being held back while advancing the favorite ethnicities or the trending ones or the flavor of the week. You see, there's been the protests throughout history against the unfair treatment of sisters and brothers at the hand of law enforcement and other civil servants, medical professionals, retail clerks, restaurant staff, realtors, bankers, educators, news agencies, production companies, and many other industries where racism prevalent. But there are those countries who, they see it. They see the foolishness. They see the Western way. And they say, not here. And so they oppose population control policies. They've got their cultural beliefs. They have their political ideologies. They prioritize large families as a sign of economic prosperity. And some of these people argue that reducing fertility rates could lead to an aging population and reduce labor force, thus damaging the economy in the long run. So you see, there's a battle of good and evil. There's a battle of right and wrong. There's a battle of a whole lot of things going on, depending on how you look at it. But these population control supporters, they deem it necessary. They believe that if we are to prevent environmental damage and preserve our planet for future generations, there must be a control of the populace. They feel that it's important for governments to put in place policies that promote education and access to resources such as the contraception, while at the same time respecting people's cultural beliefs. Did God call these people to control a population by any means necessary? Because see, there's other examples where a populace is controlled. Not just the amount of people being born, of course, but also mindsets, right? Brainwashing, cult mind control. I got to get you to conform. I got to get you to go along with. And so, what is your favorite type of media? That's where we're going to put our agenda. Oh, you like movies? Get some movies going, filmmakers. Go ahead on, directors. Let's do it. Oh, you like fictional books, huh? Time to put some of our political agendas in those fictional books. What else do you like? Some of you all, you got gift cards for some of these so-called fun surveys. That's how they found out what you like and what you don't like. You see, had to pick your brain a bit. But in order to do that, always give them some tricks and some treats. You see. And so individuals went on and they gave over details about what they like and what they don't like. And so they know what works and what doesn't work. And what works is what you like. And so here comes the agenda. Oh, you like listening to the radio, huh? So then there's the squeezing in of just another political agenda. Because, it's election season, or, this is the time where we make lots of money on seasonal merchandise. So let's talk a lot about gardening, or let's talk a lot about family holiday events like Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and Mother's Day and Valentine's Day and whatever the holiday is that's upcoming. Here comes that propaganda. And now you're in the mood to celebrate, even though all before you were saying that you were going to save your money and that you were not going anywhere. So this population control, if you will, is more than just reducing numbers. It's about winning your mind over to the father of lies, not the great I am. Because once there's enough children of darkness recruited, there's also the bloodshed that comes. I've been on this planet long enough to know that at some point, the demonic wants a sacrifice or many sacrifices because he has an insatiable desire for bloodshed. And those that follow after him are taught to have that same longing. So for some of you all, you are in positions of influence. Think twice about what you are influencing. Ask the Lord if you are really where you are supposed to be, or are you part of the establishment, pushing agendas and creating all sorts of chaos, all in the name of so-called peace. I thank you as always for taking time out to listen. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving, and thank you in advance. Blessings to you.